Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Fantasy Basketball Podcast for Derrick Rose's Infirmary Fantasy Basketball League. I'm joining you again. Well, not joining you. I'm actually talking to you. I'm your host, Tim Ghiorso. I'm also co-commissioner along with Mr. Blake Richardson. We've been running this league we haven't been running it. We've had a few different commissioners over the years, but this is our 9th year, I believe. And the reason I am doing another podcast here so soon is I actually got this nice, shiny new mic that's pretty cool that I really wanted to try out. So I figured, hey, I'll do a podcast a little earlier than expected. But anyway, let's get right to it. Before I go into, I have a segment here today. I want to give out my own NBA awards. The NBA has their awards, the MVP, Comeback Player of the Year. I actually have my own awards that I'm going to be giving out to you, fantasy owners. Everyone gets an award. No one's left out. So I'm going to be doing that in just a minute. But first, I wanted to go over some rule reminders for our fantasy playoffs, which are currently taking place. For those of you, just to clarify, make sure that you are doing things correctly so we don't have to take stats away or penalize you. So essentially for this first matchup, we decided on 38 total starts that you can have. The reason we did that was because of All-Star Weekend and it basically creating an extra day. Usually there's 7 days worth of games in a week. Now there's 8 because of the weird All-Star break being 2 weeks. So we decided to increase the number of starts. Basically, we looked at all the starts for the 4 people competing in the first round of the playoffs, and there was an average of around 45 starts. So we want there to be enough starts to where the depth of your team, you have to have depth, right? But at the same time, we want you to have to make some tough decisions. We don't want you just to be able to start everybody, right? We want you to have to strategize a little bit, have to break down the matchups, have to break down the categories and who you're going against, and make a couple tough calls where you're going to have to sit a couple guys on maybe a matchup you don't like, or they have a certain stat set that might not be good against your opponent. So we want to have a good balance. So that's why we went ahead and decided on 38 starts for this week. In the past, we've always done 40. This year's been a little different just because of the new resting rules and things starting a couple weeks earlier. So we were concerned about there being maybe less starts for people in the playoffs. That's why we've tinkered with the game start limit in the playoffs. But so far, that first week, 45, that's not bad. We'll see. We'll have to look at the total starts again for the next week's matchups in the semifinal round and see how many total starts that everyone can have, and then try to find a good. We're thinking 60 right now, but we could up that a little bit depending on how many total starts that we see. Anyway, so for this week, though, all you have to think about is 38 starts. That's all you can have. If a player plays even 1 minute of the game and gets ejected, that still counts as a start. Okay, so use your starts wisely. You only got 38 of them. The other thing is ESPN will show that you have 6 pickups this week, but you actually only have 3. We're only counting this as a 1-week matchup technically because there is only 8 days worth of games. So you will still only have 3 pickups available, even though ESPN says 6. We've had a lot of issues with ESPN over the years because they lacked the ability to customize some settings that Blake and I have wanted to customize. Hence why we had to add an extra technical regular season week, which is really a playoff week in the system, because ESPN would not let us create. It was essentially we had to do 2-week matchups for the whole playoffs or 1-week matchups for the whole playoffs. We couldn't mix and match. We couldn't say, okay, we want our first week of the playoffs to just be a 1-week matchup. That's what we originally wanted. We wanted week 1 of the playoffs, 1-week matchup. Semis and finals, we wanted 2-week matchups. ESPN wouldn't let us do that. So we had to finagle our way around that, and we just essentially added a regular season week in the system, but we're counting it as the playoffs. So if you're looking at the standings and it looks odd, like, wait a second, this is technically not the playoffs, ignore that. That's the system, but we're we're finagling around ESPN's lack of flexibility. So 3 pickups this week. Next week, when it's a 2-week matchup, that'll go up to 6 pickups for that 2-week matchup in the semifinals as well as the finals. So those are your rules. Once again, start limit. Don't go over if you go over your start limit, then what happens is we allow your opponent to essentially remove 1 game worth of stats of their choice. So let's say you have James Harden, and James Harden goes off for 30 points and 12 assists and 8 boards, goes 8 of 8 from the line, but you go over your 38 starts. You have 39 starts. Well, now your opponent is allowed to remove that stat line from your total score. We will manually take that off of the stats and then re-look at who is going to win, and that could cost you the victory. So do not go over your total starts. That is your penalty for doing so. So keep a good eye on that. Make sure you're not going over. Make sure you're counting. Talk to me if we had a situation where I think Blake started Joel Embiid, and he was clearly ruled out before the game, but ESPN still counted it as a start anyway. I still need to check and see if ESPN has fixed that. But that would be a situation where we'd have to manually let you go over the start limit if ESPN were to screw up like that. But I'm pretty sure ESPN's going to fix that issue, so it shouldn't be a concern. 38 starts, that's all you get, so make them good. Now, before I go into my NBA awards, first off, I just wanted to bring up an idea for our league, for a little camaraderie. There is a deal right now on SeatGeek where you can get $20 off a ticket purchase. You use the promo code HoopsHype, all capitals, one word, $20 off. So I was thinking, because I've gone to a game where we decided to not even go to our seats. We just stood lower level, kind of behind the last row, and got to just watch from there. And I know that the bar area, a lot of people like to watch from the bar area. So I was thinking, hey, there's a good 5 or 6 games this coming month that are against really crap teams. So why not everyone in the league use that promo code, basically get a free ticket, right? Because a lot of those games are going to be under $20. Easy. So we just buy the cheapest ticket possible. We all get in for free, and we go and either watch from the lower level area or go to the bar and watch from the bar. And we can just hang out, talk some fantasy, and all basically get to go watch a Kings game for free. So I think it's a pretty good idea, and I'd love to be able to hang out with as many league members as we can, to just hang out and have a beer or two and enjoy our free Kings game. So if that interests you, let me know. I think I might try to pull up here in a second. I'll pull it up at the end, some potential games. I know they're playing the Mavs. I know they're playing the Hawks, a couple of those bottom feeder teams. So let me know if you're interested. I think it'd be fun to do that. All right. Here it is. These are my NBA awards for each owner. All right. So my number 1 NBA award is going to go out to Mr. Scott. Scott, you get the award for biggest homer. You always draft those Kings players. You always pick up those Kings players, even though sometimes, well, maybe they're just not that good. But that's what makes you a fan, a true fan, a homer. So my award for Scott, you are the biggest homer. My next award is most improved, and this is to an owner who has made the most improvements in a year. And that award is going to go to Mr. Ben Fischel. Ben Fischel, last year was rough. You took some pretty big risks. Rondo in the second round being the one that stands out. But you learn from your mistakes. You've come and this year have tore it up. You were number 1 for most of the year, or number 2, and now you're the 2nd seed, and you have a chance to go to the finals in your 2nd year. So my most improved award goes to Ben Fischel. My most consistent award. So this goes to a team that just seems to be in it every year. Just seems to make the playoffs every year. Just seems to just always have a chance and always be a strong team. And that goes to Mr. Tyler Brandt. Mr. Tyler Brandt's won 2 titles. That's 2nd in our league behind myself. And he's always in it. He's always in the playoffs. I can't remember the last time he missed the playoffs. He seems to always be in it, always be fighting. So most consistent award goes to Mr. Tyler Brandt. Congratulations. My next award is the most active award, and this one goes to the player with the most pickups, and that would be myself. Typically, I always end up having the most pickups every year. Now, part of it is actually slightly detrimental because a lot of times I give up on guys really early and drop them because after a game or two, I'm like, nope, done with you. There's another guy on the waiver that I want. So I end up with like a lot of pickups every year, but I end up with a lot of guys that I just wasn't patient enough on. One example of that was Josh Richardson this year. I had him early. I just wasn't patient. I dropped him. Ben picked him up. He's been solid all year long. I was impatient with Goran Dragic. I dropped him recently. He then decided to have multiple 30-point games and shove it back in my face. So thank you, Goran Dragic, for that. But I will award myself most active. Now, this next award is called the Sneaky Pickup Guy. And that's the guy who every pickup they make, you're like, oh man, that was a good pickup. Like, that was sneaky. Oh man, like every pickup you're like, oh shoot, like I should have thought about that guy or I was watching that guy. And that award goes to Mr. Brad Hill. Brad, every pickup you make seems to be a solid choice. I remember you grabbing Jamal Murray off the wire and me just going, and I've been looking at him and I don't know why I didn't pull the trigger on him. And I thought about it after you made the pickup. I was like, dang it, why didn't I do that? And it seems like once Brad makes a pickup, everyone else realizes they almost made a mistake by not picking him up. You're like, wait, Brad picked him up? Crap, I should have picked him up. Brad has the sneaky pickups. I think he also picked up. I can't remember if you drafted Derek Favors or if you picked him up, but he's been solid for you all year long too. So Brad, you win the award for Mr. Sneaky Pickup Guy. This year's award for Mr. Unlucky goes to Hassam. Hassam, you've had terrible luck this year. It's what it comes down to sometimes. Your first-round pick, Kawhi Leonard, decided to sit out with a mysterious quad injury. And then instead of just tearing a ligament so you could drop him and use that spot for someone else, he sort of teased you and kept your hopes up by saying, oh, he'll be back sometime soon. And Pop was so vague with when he was going to come back. And then he did come back and he had a couple games and then they're sitting him out again for who God knows how long. So that's just really, really bad luck. It's bad luck just to have even a player go out like, oh, tear your ACL. It's even worse luck to have a player that teases you and, oh, I'll come back. So then you can't drop him. You can't use that spot for somebody else. And they screw you even harder. So Kawhi Leonard, he screwed you hard, Hassam. It's bad luck. Mike Conley screwed you hard. Miles Turner, for a good portion of the year, screwed you pretty hard. Yeah, you are Mr. Unlucky this year. So keep trying. I'm sure next year things will turn around. You'll be right back in the playoff race. The Biggest Risk Taker Award. This one goes to Mr. Blake Richardson for a couple of big risk trades he made this year, trading Devin Booker, trading Clint Capella, trading for Isaiah Thomas and Tim Hardaway Jr. Shouldn't have dropped him, by the way, Blake. I thank you for that. Blake has taken some huge risks this year with his trades. Have they paid off? Time will tell. Time will tell. That Isaiah Thomas trade isn't looking too snazzy right now. Thomas continues to shoot awful. I think he just went 3 of 13 last night with a bunch of turnovers, even on the Lakers. So, but hey, you got to take risks to win. And last year, Blake took a lot of risk as well. He made a lot of trades towards the end of the year to try and really flip his team around. I think he traded for Gobert. He made some really massive trades. So Blake, you get the award for biggest risk taker. Hopefully that risk pays off with a nice big reward. My sophomore slump award goes to Brent Pierce. Brent, it's your second year in the league. First year, you completely flipped a team around that was in last place and almost made a run at the finals. You were a couple of Nikola Jokic sniffles away from beating me in the first round and potentially running the table and winning the whole thing. So a phenomenal start. However, the sophomore slump has occurred. And in your draft, you drafted a lot of young guys, and you took a lot of risk there drafting those young guys. And I think you'll learn from that. I think you'll see that you got to have some veterans too. You got to take chances on those young guns, but you got to have veterans, and especially in a system where efficiency is so high this year with the steals to turnover ratio really adding to that turnover ratio as well. Efficiency is even more of high demand this season. And unfortunately, rookies are known to be quite inefficient. So, sophomore slump, I guess that's not really an award. I feel kind of bad now. What's a better award I could give you, Brent? I mean, I'll give you biggest turnaround for last year. Biggest turnaround award for Brent Pierce last year. My next award goes to most dedicated. This is a fantasy player who is dedicated like no one we've ever seen, that loves basketball, that has even created a little group chat with a few of us to just talk basketball all the time because he loves it and he's dedicated to it. That goes to Miguel Delgadillo. Miguel, you had a solid year all year long. You were in first place for most of the year. I'm not sure what happened towards the end. Maybe it was injuries. Maybe a couple of your guys dropped off. You had a solid team, honestly. Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson were two guys that I really wanted. You built around efficiency. You were smart. I'm not sure what happened, but then you fell out of the playoff race. You lost in that playing round, but overall, still, you're one of the most dedicated members we have and one of the members that loves basketball the most. So I'm going to give you the most dedicated award to Miguel Delgadillo. My next award is the Dark Horse Award. This goes to an owner who doesn't always seem to be at the top of the standings every year, but they always have this dark horse team that gets really good and hot during playoff time. And he gets in the playoffs, that 4th, 5th, 6th seed, and makes runs. And you're always worried about him because he's got that team that just gets hot at the right time. And that award goes to Mr. Armin Edemad. Last year, I believe you snuck in and you ran the table to the championship round against me. And you just seem to always have that team that just comes through when you need him, comes through during playoff time and really makes a run. I think you've had a couple times your teams have made some really strong playoff runs, and you're definitely close to that title. You're definitely a dark horse team this year. Honestly, I could definitely see you winning it. So Dark Horse Award goes to Armin. We have 2 more awards to give out. This next award is called the Best Looking Fantasy Squad. And best looking sort of means on paper that team looks freaking beast. In real life, unfortunately, they didn't perform as needed for this owner to make the playoffs. But that award goes to Mr. Connor Sutton, who had a team that on paper just looks amazing. Steph Curry, Andre Drummond, DeMarcus Cousins, just to name a couple of his players. You look at that team on paper and you're thinking, that's the best looking fantasy squad I've ever seen. That should be a title team. Unfortunately, though, there's some stat, maybe counters almost that, unfortunately, DeMarcus Cousins with turnovers or kind of hurting your efficiency, whereas Steph Curry is really efficient, and then Drummond hurts your three-throw percentage, and even though Curry helps you. So maybe there was the stat set build was not great, but you had the best-looking team. That's for sure. I would have loved to have one of those guys on my team. So you get the Best Looking Fantasy Squad Award. Last award goes to Mr. Ronil Chaudhry. And this one I call the Neatness Award. And for those of you who have matched up against Ronil, he has this thing where he only plays the guys who actually play, and he leaves everyone else on his bench. Nobody else in the league does that. He is very unique with how he only wants the players who are playing to be set in his lineups. It makes it look very neat, it's very OCD-ish. But it looks very neat and nice, and unfortunately I'm too lazy to do that. I just plug guys in and just leave them in my lineup. But Ronil really takes his time to make things look neat and nice. So Ronil, I'm going to give you the Neatness Award. All right, everybody. Lastly, before we go, I kind of want to give a current breakdown of your playoff matchups that are currently going on and kind of, just look at what's happened so far and who's let who down and who has not let you down. So I'm pulling that up right now. I forgot to have that prepped. That was my fault. Let's look at the current scoreboard. So the two matchups that we're really watching right now are Armin and Tyler. Right now, Armin has quite a big lead, a 9-2 score. I'm looking at the categories here, and Armin does seem to be running away with it. However, let's look at the total starts. It's possible that Tyler might have some more starts up his sleeve. So we have 21 for Armin. Oh, yep, only 14 starts for Tyler this week. That basically explains why these stats are the way they are. So there's plenty of time for Tyler to make up those stats. Unfortunately, he does have some injured guys. Ricky Rubio has been sitting out. Trevor Ariza remains out. Dennis Schroeder sat. So that is unfortunate. Hopefully, you can still make it to that 38 start plateau, Mr. Brandt. You might have to pick up some players as well to get there. I'm looking at Armin's players here, and Ish Smith basically played out of his mind with 22 points, 9 assists, 2 steals. That's not typical of him. So that was against the Hawks team that basically gave up. So that's some nice luck there. Eric Bledsoe has just been, wow, over the last 6 games has literally just turned it up a notch. My goodness. Looking at his 5 steals, 4 steals, 5 blocks during those games, has averaged probably around 7 assists. Wow, Eric Bledsoe has been on a tear at the right time. And obviously that helps that Malcolm Brogdon has been out. That definitely helps his cause. James Harden has been James Harden. Reggie Bullock's been a sneaky pickup for you. Not doing too bad. Also, Dwight Powell, I was looking at him. Not a bad pickup. 18.6 boards, 5 assists. Miles Turner came through with a double-double. So, based on what I'm seeing here, there's still a long way to go in this matchup, guys. Still a long way to go. Still up for grabs. The next matchup we're going to look at is between Blake and Brad. And that one's a close one. That one's currently a 5-5-1 matchup. Let's take a look at the total starts here to see if there's a disparity. We have 16 total starts for Blake right now and 16 for Brad. Okay, so we have even amount of starts so far. And things are very close. Rebounds could go either way. Assists could go either way. Steals could go either way. Steals to turnover could go either way. Turnovers could go either way. Double-doubles can go either way. So this one is still up for grabs. And as I take a look, unfortunately, Isaiah hurt you pretty bad these last 2 games, Blake, with just horrible. He only played 5 minutes in one game and was ejected, and then went 3 of 15 in the next game. So he has really let you down. Looks like that trade has not paid off. Now, Mario Hezonja has been on an absolute tear for Blake. Fantastic pickup. I wanted to pick him up, but I was worried about Aaron Gordon returning and taking that stretch 4 role away from Hezonja, which could still happen. But for now, 2 straight 20-point games, 6 steals during that span. Whew, man, what a phenomenal pickup. Nikola Mirotic was another amazing pickup that has really just been huge. 2 double-doubles this week. Wow. Enes Kanter, who Blake picked up at the very end of the draft, 3 straight double-doubles. That's wonderful. Jimmy Butler. Blake, your team is looking strong, and I think that anyone's got a chance. I'm looking at your stars to see. Chris Paul has 4 games. That's nice. Jimmy Butler has 4 games. That's good. All right, let's take a look at Brad's team. Now, Jamal Murray has really come through for Brad so far this week. That's usually a shooting percentage he does not normally attain. 71%, 15 of 21. That's kind of an outlier, but that's what happens sometimes with these games. You just get guys on hot streaks. Rudy Gobert has been his typical self, although only 2 blocks in 2 games. That's a bit low for his standards. Anthony Davis has been Anthony Davis. Huge game. Good to know that I'll probably lose blocks against you if you do win. I play you in the next round. Probably not going to win blocks with Anthony Davis and Rudy Gobert swatting at the rim. Let's see who else. Ooh, Covington has actually kind of let you down there. 30% shooting on 24 shots, but I'm not surprised by that. That's the kind of shooter he is. He's very streaky. Kyle Lowry has, been coming through. 20 and 10. Only 27 minutes, too. Wow, excellent. 12 threes over the last 3 games. Lowry is coming through at the right time. Brandon Ingram is doing all right there with the assists, increasing his assist total. 10 assists over the last 2 games. Those turnovers are a bit high. That was 7. Looks like that's what leads your team in turnovers. Josh Jackson was a solid pickup. He's looking good. Devin Booker, luckily, came back and played for you. I know he was considering sitting that one out, but 6 3-pointers. Wow. That was a nice boost. Unfortunately, Aaron Gordon has been sitting out. Wow, so this matchup could definitely come down to the wire. There's a long way to go. Looks like ESPN did fix the Joel Embiid thing. Because right now it's only saying he had 1 game played, which he only did play 1 game. So don't give up, guys. Keep fighting. And, of course, we have some consolation matchup brackets. Delgadillo winning handily against Connor. Hassam beating Scott. And Brent beating Roneil. So keep fighting for that consolation, guys. You'll get that extra chance in the lottery next year. Hopefully turn that into a top 5 pick, and you'll be on your way to the title next year. All right, well, that's all I have for you today. Hope you liked my awards I've given out, and good luck to the playoff teams. Keep fighting, keep scrapping, keep watching basketball. And I look forward to meeting whoever I'm meeting in the next round, whether it's Blake or Brad. I look forward to the challenge of competing against you in this beautiful game we call Fantasy Hoops. All right, everybody. Have a good one. Signing off. Have a good weekend.